What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. I'm always excited, but man, I'm especially excited today because one of my favorite people on the planet is on my podcast today. Cathleen King, what is going on?
Hey, Hi, Shane. So good to be here.
We Voxer a lot, so it's just really, I love Zoom. We're in such a blessed era that we live on opposite ends of the country and we get to see each other while we talk. Like when I was growing up in the 80s, I couldn't imagine seeing people like while we talked, right? Or the 90s, you just had a big wire attached to a wall, and now we get to see each other. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's so fun.
You remember Max Headroom? I just remembered this. I don't know. Do you remember this character where he had a video he could call you? Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this? Like, that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're in the future. So it's pretty amazing.
We're in the future.
We are in the future right now. We met in the strangest way. Right? We were at an event. And I was standing there and I'm like really social and I'm kind of a hugger. And I told Jocelyn, I said, I'm going to hug the next person that walks through that door. And you walk in, I'm like, what's up, friend? Hi, my new friend. And you're like, hey, what's going on? It was like, I don't know. It was just like instant friendship when I saw you. Did you feel that way when we met each other?
Totally. I was so nervous to be at that event and to walk in and just be embraced by this big guy who just came up and hugged me. It was like,
which could be scary in some circumstances. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
that could go in a lot of different directions. You know what I mean? Like what is happening? I don't know where I am. What is going on here? But then we got to sit down and it was, and as with most things that when people talk to me, you're like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I help people create income and membership and community. And then you were like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And you were doing some amazing things. And we just kind of started talking about your business. And then what happened next is insane, which we'll talk about more. But talk to me a little bit and the audience about what were you doing that day when you walked in? What did your business look like? Mm-hmm. What's your goal? What's your mission? What's your purpose? And how were you accomplishing that in the world before that day that we met?
Yeah. So my main goal at the time was just building courses for teaching people with chronic illness and trauma how to regulate their nervous system. And I was asked by the event coordinator where we met, Aaron File, to help with brain retraining with all of these CEOs and executives. And I'm like, well, do they have chronic illness? Are they in trauma? Because that's my idea. And they're like, well, not all of them, but most of them are just trying to, crush it in business. And I'm like, I don't know if I can work with that kind of person. And so I'm walking.
Let's be honest, though. We're all in trauma. Everyone
we're all in trauma.
We're all in trauma. You guys
got it all together. And I haven't worked with any CEOs. I work with the bedbound people. So I was pretty nervous. I felt like a fish out of water. But at the time, my particular business was going quite well and making courses and, doing all that, doing coaching. I had a very small community. And for the field that I was in, it was going really well. And I was doing all the things you're supposed to do, which is build the high ticket course, raise your coaching prices. And I had all of these separate little offerings going on. And you turned my life upside down that day.
That's my job. That's what I do for a living. I just flip people. That's why it's called flipped lifestyle. You know this, right? There's a reason that the word flip is literally it. Yes. We flip the world upside down. That's what we do.
And just completely changed the paradigm of what was possible for me within a matter of 20 minutes that day. So I walked in nervous as heck. And it was an amazing day. It was like I walked through a portal of transition that I had no idea was coming.
That's usually when it happens, is when you're not expecting it or when you're most nervous. Mm-hmm. My favorite quote is "The obstacle is the way." It's like Marcus Aurelius. It's like, if you can find fear and if you can kind of develop a need for that nervous energy. I am actually more scared now when there's calm waters. It's like, oh, that looks easy. That looks that's almost like my red flag for it's not going to work. Right. Because nothing comes without that nervous energy and that fear and that what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I remember. We were in a room and you came in and we sat down and we just started talking about business. And And one of the things that stood out to me, which stands out to me about a lot of people like that come to our particular community, is this like desire to help others, like this recognition that you've solved some problem and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to pass this on to everyone else who could use this to solve their problem, right? And I felt that from you. And you told me what you were doing, and that way you were doing it, which is great. People do it all the time. You can do all the things. It's fine. But it felt like you were trapping your mission in a box, like you were trapping your mission into a very limited scope, which usually takes me to the conversation of, wow, you should build a community around that. You should start a membership around that. And I remember you were telling me, we were talking about like how much you were making, and it was like, and I was like, well, how much do you want to make? And that was an interesting question. You're kind of like, I don't know. And you like said a number, and I pulled out my phone and I just divided it by 100. And I was like, yeah, you only need this many people to change your family's future forever. And I remember your eyes lighting up like, what? That's all the people in the world that I've got that many people following me right now. And I remember that, like, why was that spark so different? Like, how did that paradigm shift you to see that you could do it with that many people or whatever?
What you showed me is that I was sitting here trying to create all of these courses and doing this high ticket thing, but I had a pretty large following. And yet I couldn't serve all the people I wanted to serve. And you showed me a way to serve all the people, and that I only needed this particular number, which I easily already had, to make more than I was making doing the high ticket route. And it blew my mind that it could be a win-win. I could serve all the people and be abundant and grow. And it was just like, no, that math can't be right. I remember like you did the little calculator. Well, if you had this many people at whatever, about $100 a month, I think you said you need like 150 people. I'm like, well, I got 150 people. That's not a problem. I could not believe
you had like over 1,000 people on social media it's following you or something like that.
Yeah. And I had a wait list of 100 and something for my next course. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I could really offer this to everyone. And I knew right then, like, I mean, I had to redo the math a few times after that conversation. I'm like, no, that can't be right.
Let me get away from this crazy person who's telling me these things. Go to the corner, check it. Is his calculator? It's like a double-headed coin. Yeah. Is his calculator rigged?
His calculator must be wrong. There's like a $1,500 course or a $100 membership, and you did this thing, and I'm like, no, like that can't be possible. So it was a moment of, wow, I really could have it all. I could serve all the people and be abundant. It just blew my mind.
Yeah. And you did the most important thing. Like that conversation I have with you, I've had with thousands of people. Like when I go speak and I do things, I mean, literally like thousands upon thousands of people. And, and it's true on every conversation I've ever had. It's like, this is all you got to do. This is it right here. It's not easy. There's things you got to do. We'll talk about that, but it is simple. But you took the next step. Like you took massive action. I think we met at that event in like October, and you went home and like, you just immediately got on fire for it. And you're like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to switch this over and I'm going to do it. And you launched in like, I think did you pre-launch in December or did you launch in January?
I launched in December, on December 17th. So 6 weeks, I completely redid my platform, my website, my whole infrastructure, the whole organization.
That's how you do it, people. Yeah. You set the date, you set the goal, you go it. And then you open in January. We're talking in August. But we've talked on Voxer a lot. But like, how many members do you have right now?
About 700.
Isn't that insane? We were sitting there saying, oh yeah, 120 people. 100 will change your life.
I think it was like 136 you said I needed or something.
Right, exactly. I think you had that did you have that the first month?
Oh yeah.
Or how long did it take you to get it?
3 weeks.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You just took what you already had and kind of moved the pieces around. Like you had these courses, you just moved them into this community. They had you, but you gave all of them and you gave them each other, which is one of the most powerful things in business, is you created actual community around your course, around your coaching. Like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying coaching or courses are bad. Like, we have courses, we do coaching, we have communities. All these things can be combined just in a little different way to not only create like abundance, but like to create solution and to create community. What was it like when you opened the doors and you were like, man, I've been beating my head against this high ticket wall forever. And then you like took this random chance of, gosh, I usually make $1,000 on this, but now I'm giving access for 100. What was the fear there when you were about to turn that on? Like, were you like, this isn't going to work? Will this work? Like, what did you feel like right when you were about, not when you were building it, that 6 weeks where you were just crushing it, the actual moment of the switch? What did that feel like?
I remember thinking, Shane better be right about this.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I really.
I wonder how many people say that on a weekly basis. Like about me.
You better be right about this.
Jocelyn, just think about living with me if you were Jocelyn. She has to say that like every day.
I had a vision open up when our conversation, and all I could do was trust that vision. And it was like, this was sink or swim. I'm all in. I knew that I couldn't like fully go back because I just took that high ticket, all this stuff, and made it very inexpensive. And I'm like, okay, this has got to be it. And I knew that was in alignment with my mission and the way that my ethos on work and on business. So I just knew that it would work out. And I felt such a special transmission from you in that interaction that I just knew you came into my life for that reason, to literally help me help the world as a catalyst. I trusted it, but I remember there was a few moments like, I hope he's right. But the funniest thing is when I opened the doors, all the emails coming to me like, wait a minute, all of this is included. Did I misread this? And it was the audience that couldn't also comprehend that they were getting all of my product. I mean, 300 plus hours of courses in one platform, all this community support. They could not comprehend it either. So we were all, the whole world that I was in, the nervous system healing world, no one had been doing anything like this at the time. And so it was a real mind switch for all of us.
That's why I lean toward community so hard. And like we lean toward the customer, because the reason what we do works is because, I meet people like you, and like you have a gift, that I don't understand. I don't comprehend. I don't know how to teach what you teach. Like, I don't know how to help people get their nervous system correct. I don't know how to help people overcome trauma. Like, I've seen you even like work, like even with me and Jocelyn, like to talk about things. I can't do what you do. And it does start with business, and you have to get 100 people to pay you $50 a month. Like, there is a very you focus in the beginning, because if you don't build it, it never happens. But like the core of what we teach is you've got to throw your pebble in the pond, right? Like my favorite quote is this quote from Mother Teresa, where a reporter said, "Hey, do you really think you can change the world?" And she replied, "No, but I can pick my stone up, cast it out upon the waters, and cause many ripples." And like, I can't cause the ripple you can cause. I can only cause my ripple. You can only cause your ripple. But none of us cause that ripple until we serve, until we put the customer first, until we put our people first. And like, we now are building this we have offers, like we have these coaching programs that we're building out now. And we're trying to we're really trying to revolutionize like the online business coaching game. That's one of our goals, is to like make coaching unfailable, right? That's make it where people can't fail. That's our ultimate mission. Man, when you put the customer first, and you're like, and the customer looks at that and goes, I get all of that. And it's in such contrast to what everyone else is offering. Like, I heard a guy the other day that was selling a $55,000 coaching program, and you only got to talk to him 2 times for 30 minutes in a year. And I'm like, that's not serving the customer. Like, you're not that smart. Like, come on, bro. But when you say like, well, what if we could talk to someone one-on-one twice a month, and then we met with them in masterminds every day, and then they had a place 24 hours, 7 days a week to go get help, and then they had training, and then they had this, and then they had that. And like, when you start stacking it up, it's like people know that they can't help but give you money, because they know that that's the solution. You've thrown your pebble in the pond, and it was such a big pebble that it ripples out. People think, well, I'm just going to charge monthly for my course. No, that's not what Cathleen did. Kathleen said, no, I'm going to build something that my people need and doesn't exist. And when they see it, they're going to be drawn to it, And has the response been amazing once they even got it? It's one thing to see a sales page, but what about when they get into your thing? Like, how did that go when people started getting it?
I mean, my retention is so damn high. As you know, I've hardly marketed this thing. It's all been community led. I have a huge retention because they get inside and they're like, this is like thousands of dollars worth of content that I'm getting a month, and help and support and community. And coaching. And, there's nothing like it. And I think that what's happened is that it's become this container that feels like this is special, this is different, and we get to be a part of it. And now my community is wanting to help that container grow. They're wanting to serve within the community because it is such a special place that they know is helping so many people who can't typically afford the coaching and the high ticket courses, that those that are able to give back are now wanting to give back within the community because it's so affordable that they can also afford to spend their time doing it, and being able to work.
I've done like 700 of these podcasts, and I don't think that I've ever really heard it explained that way. It's like most people, I feel like in entrepreneurship, especially the online world, regardless of what you sell, I don't care if you're teaching guitar, doing what you do at Primal Trust, or teaching business. Like, it's extract as much money from your customer as possible. Like, how can I charge the most money possible that's not even bound by market value or how many employees you have? It's just like, it's extracting money from the customer. But like, we think like that as well in online business. It's like, okay, well, we want to be profitable, but how can we make this where more people have access to it? What tools do we have available? Because if you truly believe that what you're doing is like helping other people, like, you should try to get it in as many hands as you can. Mm-hmm. And like before, you were like, you had this walled garden. It was like the VIP, posh place at the top of the skyscraper. Only those people could make it to the gate, right? But now it's just like, no. This is now just in an open field where everyone can just walk in and out anytime they want, and they can come and do it. How did your family respond? Right? Like, I mean, did you talk to your kids about this? Because that's a pretty dramatic change to go from like, X income to 700 people paying you every single month, right? Like, and it happened so fast. Like, this happened within 6 months. I mean, I think you hit 600 right at the 6-month mark or something like that, and you're still growing. Like, what happened? Like, what did your partner say? What did your kids say? Like, what did anybody say? What did the people in the closest to you in your life react when you did how did they react when you told them you were going to do this first? And then what happened about 60 days in? What was the reaction at that point?
Well, the initial part, when I was working so hard I told them, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to transfer everything I've done in 6 weeks. And I worked my ass off, night and day. Like, our whole household had COVID at the same time. I literally almost lost my partner when I'm transitioning my business. It was so intense, the amount of work that I put in on the front side, but I was so driven. And so honestly, there was a lot of animosity because I was like, on fire trying to do this business. And I kind of, my family, they lost me for a little while, to be honest. And I would say, next time, maybe I would take 3 months for the transition instead of 6 weeks during COVID, all that stuff.
Sorry, I got you that fired up. I'm sorry I got you so fired up. I'm sorry.
I was like, I gotta do this right now.
Sorry.
I'm a manifesting generator. It has to happen right now. Right now. I don't have the patience. So, the initial stage was a lot of turmoil for them, but I was like, it was just my passion coming through me, like keeping my partner alive and all of us alive through COVID. But I'm like on my website working on it night and day. Then when the numbers started coming in and things started to calm down, I remember my partner Aaron's like, oh my gosh, doing the math on what's happening. And I'm like, I know. And then my kids getting to see me in different ways, leading community and having other community members lead within my community. They're like, wow, Mom, you're doing all of that. And my one son was like, are you famous, Mom? Are you famous?
That's amazing.
Like, well, in my little niche, people know who I am. But for them, it was really cool to see what's possible in such a short amount of time. And now my kids are like, well, what could I do for a business? They're wondering, what can they do? What can they share? And I love that at that age, they realize they can be an entrepreneur. They just saw Mom who went from, and part of my story is a year and a half ago, I had $1,000 in the bank. I was newly divorced. I hadn't worked in, 10 years. I was a stay-home mom. I had nothing. And
this was just a year that was just a year and a half ago. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. So like that was all super fresh when we met then, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I did not know the time
ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that.
Yeah. So I had been,
As if you needed to be more amazing, Kat. Hold on, pause, hold on, stop. Like we need to settle here for a minute. As if you needed to be more amazing. So like you're telling me that less than 2 years ago in 2021, you had not worked in 10 years and you had been a stay-at-home mom and you got divorced.
So I was just starting some coaching, literally working off. So I'd gotten divorced. I'd been just getting back into being well. I mean, I was bedbound for almost 10 years. So I'm just starting to, I guess almost a year and 3/4 ago, I was just coaching, and I just launched my first little course that, I charged $33 for the course. I made like $2,000 on it. I was just starting. And then I got a transmission of a mentorship that I called Primal Trust. And I launched that one in 2021 and that went pretty well, but it was like one little 12-week thing here. And then I was coaching and then, so I started making some money in 2021 when we had met that year. And that was, I was saying the last like 9 months, I went from $1,000 in the bank to a little more than that, but I still was like, well, what's my next course? And then you walked in my life, and just blew it up.
Unbelievable. That gives so much hope to people. I hope that everyone listening gets hope from that because like people feel so crushed sometimes, and like when there's failure, when we have a business fail or when we have a marriage or relationship fail, or when we do something like, you feel like you're failing as a parent or something, or you feel trapped. I was just listening to a video earlier this morning where like, there was like a survey of men and like, the majority of men feel in their 40s and 50s feel trapped because they never pursued the business or they don't want to take the chance that could cost their kid a car or their clothes or their school, whatever, right? Like, and like families work themselves into these things and like you can trap yourself into the world's vision of success or you can trap yourself in literal trap, like physical problems, relationship issues. And to hear, I did not know that. I thought that stuff was a little bit earlier than that. And I thought you had been recovering like longer than that. And like, so like literally when I met you in October of 2021, you were like,
that was my first
year. You had just flipped the coin.
That year, the year before that, I was doing coaching, all year, a little bit of, so the year before, so 2020, I'm getting my health back and I'm just doing coaching. That year, I think I made $8,000 or something for the whole year. 2021 was better because I'd launched that first course, but still that was just starting.
And then it just exploded. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is, man, I cannot wait till Jocelyn listens to this because I don't think either one of us really knew that. And we know each other pretty good. We talk quite a bit. So it's like, but I think my story in my brain, how like you hear a story and it like spreads out when you hear like a story, and like I thought that this was like years in development and you were really doing good and then you're just like hit a button. But like, no, this was like, no, tenacity. And like, let me go back to something you said earlier. You said there was some animosity in your family as you went all in on this. And you said they lost me for a few months. Mm-hmm. This is a very similar experience that I've had a couple times now in our business. In the beginning, my kids were little, so they didn't really know what was going on at the time. And then there's been like 3 other times where this has happened. Like it happened again. But like I actually, before we took this, made this partnership with this live event company that I speak at now, I remember I've learned from this in the past. And I knew that a sprint like that was coming. And we sat Isaac and Anna down and we had a family talk. Like, Daddy and Mommy are going to be working more because we're trying to get to the next level. And you've got to communicate with us because there's going to be times that you might feel a little abandoned because work-life balance is not really real, guys. Like there's sprints of love and work and family and things like that. Like, do you think that was what happened there? Like you just went all in and all these things were happening, but you had to go all in. Like how would you have handled that situation differently now that you're looking back at it? Because there's a lot of people getting ready to go into that. They're like, wow, I'm flipping my life. I'm doing this. Like if Kat can do it, if Shane can do it, I can do it. Like, how would you have handled that situation differently, maybe to prevent that animosity,
Well, I have this habit where announce these launch dates. And I do this all the time. And so I put myself in a box and I think, oh yeah, 6 weeks, I can do that in 6 weeks. And the problem is that I announced to everybody a start date. And then I realized how much work it actually took to have that launch. And so in the future, I would like to have on my back end things done before I announce a start date. So what happened is I just talked to you about this recently because I did it to myself again of another launch date of a new product.
Oh yeah. I was like, you're the one that put the date out there and you're the one that can change it.
I'm like, I can't change it. Told my family, sorry, I can't change it. I announced it. I got to do this, So,
Not true.
In trying to be in so much integrity and not wanting to let a single person in the world down, I pushed myself to the extreme. And even though I got COVID, I'm like, well, I announced the start date. I got to still do it. So that's a little bit of my own people pleaser learning curve here. That means that, I would say get the back end a little bit done and then announce your start date when you've gotten some of the major pieces done.
Your energy is so like my energy. Like when me and you think, oh, I can do that in 6 weeks. Like me and you are like, that's because I know I'm going to work 70 hours a week on it and not talk to humans in that time. And then we forget, oh, wait a minute. I have children.
I forget about
spouses,
that all the time.
And yeah, I know, right? Like I got other things. I have personal health and doctor appointments I need to go to as well. Oh, I should get a haircut in that 6 weeks. Right? It's like we forget these things and we don't expand the time frame out a little bit and let it be okay. Like I think everyone comes into online business or anything they're doing. I always feel this. I want to say it's inspiration, but I believe it's almost always desperation of make this thing happen as fast as possible to see if it works because of the hope that's behind income and the hope that's behind your mission. And like, I see that happen so many times, man, but like, it's okay to go at a different pace. Like it took me and Jocelyn like 13 months to even get launched and quit our jobs and do things like that. Like it wasn't like we just snapped our fingers and we had enough money to do it. Right. Like, but I know people that, it took 13 weeks. And then like your story seems really super crazy because it's like met in October, did it in January, 6 months later, 600 people. But there was the 9-month journey before that of figuring out courses, doing the coaching to understand what people want. And like, why not start with coaching and then build a course and then blow up the big giant number? Like it's okay for it to take 13, 14, 15 months as long as your next 14, 15 years end up being crazy, right? Like better for your family. So like communicating with your kids and your family. Like I used to not do that at all. And then as my kids have definitely gotten older, I've been like, I need to sit down and have a meeting that says, hey, like, I'm about to go on the road for 5 straight weeks in a row. Twice my kids are going to be with me, but I'm going to be gone 5 weekends in a row because we're building something amazing right now. I had to talk to my kids and be like, I'm going to be gone. Like, how can I still, what do I need to do this and help you like go through life,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if they understand that they're part of the process. And one of the things I said to my kids is as I got successful, we celebrated together and I thanked them for the success that we have had because they were part of it. They were part of the sacrifice. They were part of holding the container at home with me and allowing me to pursue this vision. And so every success I've had, we've had a celebration together and, some way that we all get to celebrate our milestone so that they also feel that they're part of this building of this really enterprise that's happening. They're part of it and their stories are part of it. I mean, part of my mission has been what's happened with them and teaching parents how I handled nervous system and health issues with children. And so they're very much part of the whole thing. And I make sure that they know that it's not just mommy's business. It's all of us. Yeah. We've all had an experience together. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I love that. There's 2 ways to reward them too, like with time and with like money. One thing I love about like Bitcoin and stuff, I don't really understand cryptocurrency or anything else, but one concept I learned by looking at it was money is really just proof of work. It's like a certificate is what it is. It's like, hey, I was talking to Isaac about money last night and I was like, because he was like, he wanted this money. And, one of the things he does to make money is he washes our 4 giant dogs. That's how he makes money. But he had this thing that he wanted last night. He wanted to order it and buy it. It was on a video game or something. And And I was like, well, hey, you have to, the order is you go work, and then you get your proof of work, which is the certificate that I did this, which is the money, is how we do that in our society. And then you can use that proof of work to exchange for other people's proof of work. Like they do things in their work and things like that. And like we started, we do Profit First, which is this amazing book by this guy named Mike Michalowicz, which is how we balance our books and how our business has been profitable for like 7 straight years in a row, every month. There's never been a not profitable month, basically, because we do profit first. We think about profit first. And like one of the things that the principles in that is kind of like pay yourself. Like other people have ways to say this. Like Dave Ramsey has an account called Blow Money. You just blow it. You don't care, right? And it's that like, oh, I'm going to go do something nice for myself. I'm going to, this is a proof that I worked hard. It's like it's the good things in life, right? Like I bought an Xbox last night. I'm a video gamer. I don't care. And like I bought an Xbox last night. So what we did was, because of that concept you just said, which I didn't articulate it like you do, but like that was perfect, is the kids are a part of the business. They are a part of the sacrifice. They should get some of that reward. It's not like they have to be stingy about it. So we actually took our profit account and we divided it into 5 parts. And like there's a family part, that's the biggest part, which is where we take vacations and stuff like that. And then like there's an Isaac account, an Anna account, a Shane account, and a Jocelyn account. So people have access to that where they can go do and they can reward those things, and often they spend their money on the things that are time together. Like we go to the trampoline park, or I don't know, like whatever. Like what are some things you do to like reward the kids? Like what are some of those? Like what's one of your reward things that you did?
Well, we went on a family trip together to California and picked places to, go visit. Honestly,
good. Let them pick.
Yeah, we honestly, we played Monopoly together with real money.
Amazing. Are you serious?
So
that is amazing.
My goal was when I made my first 50K month. And that was their idea. I'm like, okay, you guys, we got to have a goal. When we have our first 50K month, what do you want to do? And that was their idea. We want to play Monopoly with real money.
Phenomenal. That's the crazy. That's not even in the conversation a year ago. Like you can't even imagine something like that if you're not doing successful online business stuff, right? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I totally need to do that. I need it. That's crazy. Yeah. Who won? Well, did you win?
Actually,
or was it a flip the table? Did you flip the table after 8 hours like Monopoly usually ends up?
My partner Aaron won, of course. But here's what we did: we made a way where we had a first, second, and third.
Nice,
so everyone, got something.
Had something.
That's so amazing. We had a whole deal. But I remember as a kid, I grew up dirt poor. I remember thinking, would it be so cool if this money was real someday? And to have that experience for me, to literally be giving my kids this thing that I thought I would never see. I grew up homeless a lot of the times. I was dirt poor. And to have that experience with my kids, it was such anything is possible in life, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's absolutely. Did you have any haters or detractors at the beginning? I'm kind of planting this question because I know the answer. Tell me about that.
Well, it was interesting because my daughter, who is afraid of disappointment, she was afraid that she wouldn't win. And so going into this, she had a little response. And we stopped and we paused the game. We said, look, this is a game, and this is a game of gratitude. And this is about celebrating with everybody. So we used it as some teaching opportunities of it's not about who wins and who gets less. And because there's money involved, it's charged. And it allows for some things to come up as an opportunity to help them see we all won, and there will be some that gets different, amounts here, but this is something that none of us would have any of this. So there's a gratitude here, even in the last place that we're to come in. And they really got that. And it was an awesome way to have money truly bring up that charge inside of them and to then celebrate the whole.
That's a concept that's very similar to what I teach our kids. Like even when we don't succeed or make what we want or do what we do, because we're so consistent, because we're so prolific, because we're truly relentless, and because we always move forward. Guys, our floor is probably higher than anyone else's ceiling. Like, we've got to remember that. Like, it's like that aiming for the stars and landing on the moon kind of concept. Like, you're playing Monopoly with money, people. Nobody else is doing that. Like, that's the gratitude there, But like, what about like in your community? Like when you were going to switch to this, like, this is a fear that a lot of people have, is like, what are other people going to say? Am I going to get haters? Am I going to get doubters? Am I going to get copycats if it works? Like, did you experience some of that? And like,
oh yeah.
Like, how did that feel, and how did it hold you back, and how did you overcome it? Because I know a lot of people are struggling with that right now,
So a lot of people paid me premium price for a high ticket course and a small group mentoring. And then I took that same course and I made it very inexpensive, right? So these people that were like, well, I got this. And now you're giving that same thing to like everyone. I said, yeah. And you had me, and there was only 15 of us in the class. And, so there was more there, so that, first of all, that was one thing. Well, now I paid this much and now it's only this much. So there's that piece. But the other one, the biggest thing was, we're going to lose you, Kat. Like, they felt like they were going to lose me as the community expand. I'm like, you're going to gain the opportunity to serve the world. Those of you who are in the beginning of my community, you are all light holders of this teaching. And now they're all helping, and you are all going to become mentors and helping each other.
Which is better for them.
Which is better for them. And now that they've seen that, they're okay. But the initial, I'm going to lose you. I'm going to lose this intimate, able to call Kat whenever I want. Yeah, there was some rocky. It was rocky for a little bit. And now they're more self-empowered and healthier and stronger and leading than they ever would have been if it was just me at the top and them in my little mentoring circle. So
I had someone tell me when we started expanding Flip Lifestyle, like when it blew up, like it really got big, one of our original beta members was kind of like, because it was the same thing. They had a lot of access to us in the beginning, and then that got thinner and thinner and thinner. And they were like, oh, I feel like I'm losing you guys. Like, right. And I'm like, guys, if all you ever have is me, you got problems. I ain't enough. Like I'm telling you, I ain't smart enough. I'm not good enough. Like, I got very specific things I can do. But like, if I can give you thousands of other people, and I can give you more training, and like now our team, like we have like, like our core team is like 8 to 10 people now. And like, then we have like 20, 30 people on the road, like leading our live events. That's better. It's always better to have more people, because I don't have a monopoly. You don't have a monopoly. And like, imagine what always makes me sad is when people listen to those limiting voices, either from the true haters and trolls who are really just trying to hold you back, or the people you have served to this point that are trying to like keep that closed hand instead of that open hand. Even like that inner critic, that inner voice, like, who am I to do this? Like, who am I to lead movement? It's insidious. It's just so insidious. Like, that's the thing we see hold people back the most, is they listen to those other voices. And what you bring up is something really important. Like, everyone thinks haters, doubters, don't listen to the haters. But like, no. These aren't haters. They're worried. They're actually the people who probably appreciate you the most in many cases. And they're either worried about themselves, which is fair, or they're worried about you. Like, what if she fails, And you just can't listen to that stuff. You just can't do it. All right. So in 9 months and 18 months, you've basically changed your family tree. In the last 6 months, you've blown this thing up into like literally on the verge of exploding into a movement, to the point where you're dealing with things that most people don't deal with for like 2 or 3 years, to be honest. Where are you at right now in your business? It's one thing to make it. Can you keep it? Right? Yeah. That's always the question, So where are you at right now? Like, how's that going? Like, what are the new challenges you have traded for the old challenges? Because it ain't all sunshine and rainbows, people, when you got 700 people paying you every month, right?
Well, where we're at is such a good place because, as you know, I've hardly even tried to advertise yet because I have this 3-leveled process inside my program. And I have a great level 2 and level 3 process, but my level 1 process was something I made 2 years ago when I was really still nervous, and I don't love it. And so I have not wanted to advertise because I don't want people to see my level 1 process because it's not my
even
favorite.
Even though all the people in this process are loving it
They
and
love
happy
it,
and
but
everything
I
else.
was nervous.
Right? Yeah.
So the deal is that I'm actually in the process of finishing my new level 1 process, which then I will start advertising. So I am just getting started. And I know that. I know that this level 1 process is going to be a huge funnel for all into the medical world, into the hospitals, into the therapists, because it's really good. So my quest right now is to get a really solid container built as far as processes, onboarding, structure, so that when I open up the gates, which I have not even done yet, we can hold it. That's what I see. That's what I know. So I've spoken with you a lot about the stage I'm in is making sure my organization is simple, getting rid of things that I don't need to have, having a better onboarding process. So simplifying and structuring to be able to handle the new influx that will come when I finish my level 1 program.
I can comment on that because of what we've built and what we've been through. Like, I hear a lot of people talk about systems and processes, and usually what I hear is someone wants to make a Google document of everything they're already doing. Yeah. And I have spent the last year and a half saying no to so much in our business, saying no to so much, like the stripping away. When you cross $10,000, you should immediately start stripping away everything that doesn't move the needle. Like I wish that we had done that back, but 10,000 a month. Like that, you've got to strip things away as fast as possible. The first 10,000 is kind of throwing mud on the wall. Like you don't know which things are actually working enough. You can't see it. But like that, and you grew so fast, you just blew past that number. So you didn't have time to stop and like look at it. Right. But like the more you take away, the better. It's just better. Like our business plan fits on one sheet of paper. It is a 7-square grid moving left to right. Like that's it. These are the things we do to get discovered, to build audience, to grow our list, to make sales, and to grow. And every time I take something off that paper, our business explodes, right? And I think what people mistakenly do is they put so much effort into process and systems instead of cleaning up, right? That they miss the point. Like if you would just clean up, then all you would have to focus on was hiring cool people to do the things, and then they would help you make the systems better, right? And when you start making money, I think people should start hiring. Everyone's like, outsource this, do the things you don't like. No, you should really roll up your sleeves and work really hard until you're making $20K a month, right? And then you start hiring people. But you need to decide right now what you want your team to look like, and that will inform these systems decisions. It will inform it. If you could write down on a paper, like, what does Kat do? Kat leads these 3 people, and then these 3 people lead these 3 people each. You would be so much farther ahead than just systemizing. It would not even be close. Like, that's the containers, the humans that are going to help you lead the community. That's the container you need to build.
That's true. And I think that is what you've kind of advised me to do behind the scenes. So the system is, okay, I talked to my assistant, I talked to this person, they talked to these people. And that's kind of what I mean by the system, because as I told you, I was talking to everybody all day long. I mean, I was doing it all. Like you said, I didn't outsource anything because I also wanted to understand it. I see people like starting to build their business, and they hire all of these things, and they don't seem to get anywhere. And then they don't know how to do a lot of the things. So by systems, I mean, who's talking to who when they come into the community? Who's answering this? Because I was literally wearing all of the hats, which was...
What are the 5 most important things that happen in the community every week?
Okay. Number 1, I would say would be our live classes. We have live group coaching. We have live special topic classes. We have sound healing. So we have a calendar of live classes. We also have study group meetups. So several pods of study groups for people to study the different material that's in our core courses. So that's pretty. Is
that one-to-many? Are all these one-to-many? These classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like one person's kind of facilitating and everyone's kind of contributing, basically. Okay.
Yep. So live classes, live study group. I would say we have my core classes that people are taking behind the scenes, at home, what the recorded what they're coming in for are these core, it's an academy of hundreds of hours of videos. They're taking these core videos, they meet in study groups to go over the videos. Then we have live classes that are specialty throughout the week. So those are the three main things I would say. And then we have ambassadors that meet with prospective people, on a weekly basis, talking with them to help bring them into the community.
Recruiting, basically. Recruiting.
Mm-hmm. And then behind the scenes, we have where people can meet up, community members can meet up and practice together. It's not a study group. It's like literally like an app, like, hey, somebody want to practice class 2, the tool on this, and meet up. So that's happening.
Yeah. It's like a co-working kind of feel. It's like, hey, let's all just meet in a room and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday night dinner at church. It's whatever. It's everybody's just hanging out or whatever. All right. I'm just going to call that like co-working. Okay. How many live calls are there a week?
Okay. So we have between 5 and 7 live classes a week, 1 to 2 a day, and all different things. So there's always something to support people's nervous system on a daily basis. I might teach one of those a week. They're taught by everyone else. Study groups, I would say there's probably 7 to 10 different groups a week that are meeting.
Are those volunteer led?
Volunteer. All and they're self-organized. Study groups. So in Europe, hey, let's form a group of people here that can meet at this time. And that's not on the main calendar.
We're talking three things a day are happening probably on average.
Yeah.
Like if you've got
whether it's a live class, a study group, or you can meet up on your own. So it's really it's a lifestyle for them to be involved with, which is all about self-healing and transformation, and people that are right there every day to support their process. A lot of it's, like I said, peer-led, and some of it's community-led by some of the leaders.
Then there's the general admin stuff of like, I can't log in and all that, customer service, an hour a day. Are your courses, are the comments on?
We have a forum for all the different courses. So like a level 1 forum, a level 2 forum, all community forums. But it's all under one forum umbrella, so there's just different channels you can talk on in there. And then the study groups have their own channel right now on Signal. So I'm not even a part of it. They're doing it. They're self-organized. Nothing I need to manage.
And your function is leader, character, like, the group leader, but like the movement maker and the side vision and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've really helped me to see what my function is and what it isn't. So
exactly. That's what we're doing right now. If you don't know, I think you only need to hire 3. You need to hire 3 full-time people is what you really need. Another thing that's really hard, it may not be the people who are helping you now. And I'm not saying it's not the people that are helping you now, but like there's many times in our business where I'm like, ooh, that person who's been here the last 5 years is not going to function in the next 5 years. Because if I don't make this decision, then, not that they get fired or anything. It's just like they don't want to do it or they don't have to do it. You need one person in charge of all those live calls. Like if there's 15 calls, we have a person, we call her, her name's Delyn, and we call her I call her the cruise ship director. She's not the captain of the ship. She's the person that's like dancing at the pool with everybody. When you're making as much money as you are, you have to stop relying on part-time volunteers, no matter how good they are. Now, you can have a leader that's in charge that leads volunteers in group. We have that. Even some of our things, like we bring successful members onto our group calls, but we pay them to be there, right? Because we want that proof of work. We want that functionality. And that's done through our community leader, our manager, right? If your top of your team looked like this, and this is not perfectly right. This is a spitballing, okay? But this would be a good start. If you had a community manager who handled all group calls, that's what they lived, breathed, slept, woke up, went to bed. That's it. They're full-time, they're W-2, whatever they make a month. It doesn't even matter right now. Don't even think about it. I'm not going to say anything because then you can decide then no one will listen to this podcast and be like, but Shane said to pay me this. So you can figure it out yourself. Okay. Full-time living, all the things, right? And then the second thing you need is you need like an admin who is responsible. You need like concierge VIP, like support. Someone who's half their time is spent making sure all the things function. And then the other half the time is probably managing questions and forums and things like that, right? That person's also going to probably own courses, right? Like helping people find things in the courses. That's a really important function of customer support in our kind of business. So that's the admin. We'll call that person, we'll call one the cruise ship director. We'll call one the admin person, the concierge person. And then you probably do need a recruiting coordinator, because you're like me, like you're not really going to be super organized sometimes. You're going to be super driven, and you can sprint and you can drive yourself into the ground to make as much money as you want to make. But we're not always as tactical as we should be, you know? Like you probably do need that coordinator who's going to push you to say, we need to open the doors. We need to open the floodgates, even if we're not ready. Like you need 3 to 4 people full time on your staff right now. Like the money is there to do it, and you have to get past that. And then let them build the systems. Let them say no and take things away. Like empower them to be like, come in and clean up this amazing, beautiful, incredible, prosperous mess that I made, right? Because like me and you make messes. That's our function. Our function in life is to make messes. And then we have to have these other people come in and like make the messes more amazing, you know? Like imagine if Picasso painted all of his paintings, but he dumped the paint on the floor to see all the paints.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at, you know? We dumped the paint. I know that's a scary thought, but like, oh my gosh, like you could probably, that would not cost more than $10,000 to $15,000 a month.
Yeah.
But like if that was in place, your revenue would probably double. So it's not open the doors. It's not marketing at this point. It's not even all that stuff will happen, right? The product offer converts and is popular. The container is the people. And like, it's not the systems. It's not the processes. It's the people. The people make the processes and the systems possible. So don't make that mistake. I tried to Google document my way into success for years. And then finally, one of my friends looked at me and said, if you would just hire people, your life would be so better, you know? And your community would act like we're at the point now where I think I might not even be on the podcast in 2 years. Like it's going to become bigger than me eventually, you know? And I think you could too. I think you've started a movement. I mean, it's impressive. It's just absolutely incredible. What was your background to do what you did? Like you were
So I'm a physical therapist. I'm a physical therapist. And before I got sick, I worked a lot with mind-body syndrome, like chronic pain, fibromyalgia, really complex spine issues. So I was really adept at understanding the brain and the body from a physical standpoint. And then I got really sick for 10 years and I didn't apply that same understanding to chronic infection. I thought, well, I went down a different path. And then I realized, wait a minute, the brain modulates the body. Maybe I can use all of my training with pain management and apply it to the nervous system. And sure enough, my own immune system kicked in. So it's really neuroscience. So I'm a neuroscience educator. And I also do a lot of energetics and spirituality and trauma healing and inner psychology. So it's neuroscience, it's inner attachment repair to our wounded parts, it's energetics. And I weave it into a whole process that is, you start with the physiology, then you go inside and work on the inner wounding. And then, there's a whole process I take people on based on my own journey of having the science and the experience and bring them through that process. And really, ultimately, it's getting people to realize that all this is happening so that they can go on a transformation journey. It's like the illness was just the catalyst, but really, we're all here on planet Earth trying to become better versions of ourselves. And once they realize that it's not about the illness, that it's about becoming their authentic self, then they go on a different journey. So they come into primal trust because they're sick, and they stay because they're transforming.
It's amazing. It's amazing how all of us, everyone listening to this podcast, has everything they need to do what you just did, right? It's just in a different area. It's like, guitar, art, primal trust, flip lifestyle. Like you're not really learning new things, guys. It's just take what you already have, take what you've done in the past, wiggle it around a little bit and put it in a different order. And then you can go out and you can help people and you can serve the world and you can you can get paid to do exactly what you're supposed to do and like who you are. So I knew this was going to happen. We're going to talk for like 4 hours if we don't stop. I can't wait to talk to you again in 6 months because you're wrestling with so many things right now. Because when I talk to you and it's like, oh, I know she's about to put some pieces in place. It's going to be awesome. And like, I'm kind of like, I feel like I know the next 3 chapters of your story and I'm just waiting for the main character to catch up. I'm just like super proud of you. And like, I'm just like so glad that, we've always jokingly said, like, I think we're brother and sister somehow in the past because we are so similar. It's hilarious. Like Jocelyn laughs about it. But like Jocelyn said today, I was like, yeah, I got to talk to Kathleen today. She goes, oh gosh, you're going to have fun. And I'm like, yeah, because she just knew it was going to be fun. But, for everybody out there who's listening, though, that has chronic illness or stuff going on, like your program is the best out there. So like, how can people come to your website and look at your community? Maybe we can open the floodgates just a little bit more here and just crack it open. Okay. So tell everybody how to get to your stuff.
Sure. Well, my website is primaltrust.org. And I have a ton of free content on my Instagram and YouTube. Instagram is primaltrust _ Dr. Cat, and YouTube, Dr. Kathleen King. So if you're dealing with chronic illness or trauma patterns, mental health issues, I have a ton of free tools to just get a feel of like how I work and what my approach is. But on my website, you can learn more about the community and everything that's involved. I have a free training on the website as well. So one of those avenues is a way to at least get started. And inside the community, there's just a whole sequential process that we take you through to help walk you through the pathway of regulating your nervous system and helping your relationships and really finding your purpose and passion and doing what I'm doing right now.